The road to Set 5 Legends of the Force's release is continuing on for Star Wars Unlimited, so we're going to continue on our series about talking of all of the cards that we are going to see. It's legendary time in this video, and we've got some really cool ones to talk about. My name is Ben Fitzpatrick, I am a TCG caster, so that means I just love talking about them. So let's do that right now. But before we get into talking about the new legendaries that are joining us in Legends of the Force, if you're excited for the new set to be released for Star Wars Unlimited, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn on those notifications so you do not miss a video. And drop me a follow over on X while you're over there. Link is in the description. So, 20 new legendaries are going to be joining us in Legends of the Force, and it's felt like that we have been trying to push the envelope with every single set with these legendaries. There are some really cool ones that are coming out in this set. We're going to start off in aspect order and go ahead and get right into Darth Vader, Twilight of the Apprentice. A 6-cost in Vigilance and Villainy, 5/6. When played, give a shield token to a friendly unit and to an enemy unit, but then on attack, defeat an enemy unit with a shield token on it. This is a really, really cool card. I'm a big fan of this, that on attack ability, being able to take away too much of the ability of the shield that your opponent is going to be able to get. So what you're going to be looking for here with that enemy targeting is ideally an enemy unit that is already rested, that's already either come into play this phase or has attacked already this phase, so that your opponent can't immediately go ahead and, say, get a value trade in with that unit immediately in the next action. Or you could just go ahead and give this card Ambush with something like Energy Conversion Lab. It's 6 cost or less, so does meet the requirements for the epic action of that 25 HP command base. Or something like Timely Intervention, even potentially, as well as a couple of different ways that we could potentially give this Vader Ambush to immediately destroy the enemy, defeat the enemy with the shield token on it that we've just granted, so something really like big and out of the way, and then clear the way of another enemy unit as well. Important to note in that interaction as well, because that is an on-attack ability, you can choose how you want to order it, and you get to choose that on-attack activation first before the attack is sent through. So if you want to go ahead and on-attack defeat something that has Sentinel on it, for example, you can clear the way of the Sentinel and then go ahead and ambush into something else. I believe that's going to be how it will work. We'll wait for further clarification on it, but I'm pretty sure that will be how it works. The other alternative is potentially if it's on attack and you have to go ahead and declare the attack into the Sentinel, the on attack ability could just pop the Sentinel and the attack then just goes ahead and fizzles, which honestly might even be the better of the two options, because then your Vader isn't taking any damage, the attack just kind of fizzles because the target is already gone thanks to the on-attack ability, and you've still got your shield intact potentially, because you can give Vader itself the shield as well. It's a friendly unit as opposed to another friendly unit. So a lot to like, I think, about this Darth Vader. 5/6 as well. Really, really nice stat line. Next up, we've got Always 2, which will sound a little bit familiar. Now there are 2 of them, being a card that was released in set 3. This, however, is just that there are always 2. It's a 4-cost event in Vigilance and Villainy again. Choose 2 friendly, unique Sith units. That's important. This symbol here is indicating that you've got to choose a unique Sith unit for this effect. If you do, give 2 shield tokens and 2 experience tokens to each chosen unit. Defeat all other friendly units. This is a really interesting card and a really interesting ability. 2 shield and 2 experience is huge, is massive. You can make some really, really bulky units with this ability. The fact that you have to defeat all your other friendly units may be a little bit awkward, but there are a couple of ways we can work around that. If, for example, number 1, we have a load of units with when defeated abilities, we're not going to mind too much about those abilities getting activated. And obviously, number 2, if the friendly units that we target are the only units that we have on the board, then nothing else from our side is going to get defeated, and we've just got these 2 really, really big, nasty Sith units that we are working with. Could potentially combo and work really nicely with the Mallet leader that we are going to be getting as well in Legends of the Force. We have a little look at him. Revan, I should say. The Darth Revan leader here, giving more experience tokens as well. We generally might want to be looking for something that has more kind of direct Sith interaction, which unfortunately we don't really have so far in the game. Supreme Leader Snoke is potentially another one that we could go ahead and utilize this with in command, giving an experience token to the most power among friendly villainy units. So boost something up with always 2, then go ahead, attack with Snoke if the leader is deployed, get another experience token onto one of them. So a couple of different ways that this card can kind of fit into a Sith Matters kind of deck, but nothing immediately from a leader kit sort of side of things that is going to just go ahead and say, yeah, we get a load of benefits if we get a load of Sith units on the board. But still, a card that I'm very interested in. It looks very, very cool, at least on face value. Next up, the final legendary that Vigilance is getting is a card that a lot of people are very, very excited for, and for good reason as well. This is Anakin Skywalker, Champion of Mortis. 6 cost, mono Vigilance, 5/7. When played, if there is a heroism card in your discard pile, you may give a unit -3/-3 for this phase. And the exact same effect triggers individually if you have a villainy card in your discard pile. Importantly, it's cards that we are looking for, not just units or events or something like that. Any heroism or villainy card in the discard pile, you get 2 separate instances of -3/-3. So we've kind of got a little bit of a semi-Luke ability going on here, but in all honesty, this is a little bit better than Luke's when played ability, in my opinion, because there's different ways that we can mitigate and get around that -3/-3, or potentially a -6/-6, because you can put both when played abilities on the same unit here. So we're looking to combine this primarily with decks like the new Anakin Skywalker leader that we're going to be getting in Legends of the Force, the mono heroism leader, potentially also flip Palpatine as well, because you're getting immediate access to that heroism and villainy with the flip and the leader ability. We pair this with Vigilance. We've got some really, really nice tools in both Vigilance heroism and Vigilance villainy that we could go ahead and use here. Some great events like the Force is with me, the Vigilance villainy command, the Vigilance villainy control events that we've got as well. Things like Power of the Dark Side, Merciless Contest, even things like Inferno 4. If we want to go sort of get early tempo, crash into something in space, get the when defeated, then it's just sat there in the discard pile ready for Anakin. This is really, really good. I really like Anakin Skywalker, and so far this I think is one of the standout legendaries that is going to be coming from the new set. Then, I told a little bit of a lie. We do have one more Vigilance Legendary to talk about, is the Mythosaur. 10/10 shielded unit for 9. Friendly upgraded units can't be exhausted or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. That's quite nice considering the upgrade and pilot meta that we are in at the moment. And then friendly leaders gain the Mandalorian trait. So, if you want to run some Darksabers in your deck, your leaders will be able to hold the Darksaber and get those abilities as well. Ultimately, however, I think this might be a little bit too expensive and a little bit too narrow to be able to see a lot of play. Friendly upgraded units not being able to be exhausted or returned to hand, that's great. but the upgrades still can be removed. They can still be targeted, which is what we're seeing quite a lot of at the moment in the format in Jump to Lightspeed. We're seeing things like Chewbacca be really, really nice and really, really prevalent, but if the Chewbacca pilot hits into a vehicle unit, you just remove the Chewbacca. Or the Poe Dameron that's being seen at the moment in Han 2, the combo ability to play out the Poe Dameron onto the ground arena with Han effect, immediately then create the X-Wing token and make him jump in as a pilot with the on-play. You just destroy the Poe Dameron leader, or you just eject the Poe Dameron pilot, and things can get really, really awkward from there. So, really, really great sort of thought process behind this card. Obviously, 10/10 shielded is very, very scary. But I think at a 9 cost and with its ability, it's just a little bit too late potentially, unless we're really, really ramping quite aggressively with some of those command cards. Speaking of command, that's where we're going to go ahead and go into next with the Supremacy, a 12/12 for 12 space unit in command and villainy. Ambush, other friendly vehicle units get +6/+6. And importantly, this is a capital ship. So this is a tool for Admiral Piet, potentially here. If you can keep Piet leader unit still out on the ground arena by the time that you get to 10 resources, because of the cost reduction that you get when he is deployed, you can play this out a little bit earlier than you would expect to ordinarily and give all your other vehicles and then therefore capital ships a massive boost in stats, +6/+6, and really, really overwhelm your opponent. Of course, you can ambush in as well, and the likelihood is that at 12/12, it's gonna survive whatever you go ahead and ambush into. Clears the way of things like redemption, which is really, really nice. The only issue that I've got is that it is a 12 cost space unit, and it might be a little bit too late to be able to be played down. If you can stabilize the board in that early to mid game while still ramping up quite nicely with Piet, then this is a really, really great inclusion. But maybe not necessarily as a 3 of. I could be persuaded that maybe to include it as a 2 of, because this big banner effect is really, really cool and really, really nice. But it being a 3 of in the deck, maybe, I don't know. It could potentially be a 3 of, and I could be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong on all of this. Fair warning, but this is just what it sort of screams out to me, at least on first read and on first initial reaction of this card. I love the card. I think it's really, really fun. I think it's really, really cool. But is it too much to maybe include? The only deck that I can really think of, as I say, is Admiral Piet to try and offset that big 12 resources that you have to pay. Next up is another really, really cool unit. This is Leia Organa, but it's Space Unit Leia Organa from Episode 8, The Last Jedi. 5 cost in Command and Heroism. While this unit is in the space arena, she can't ready, but gains the action to use the Force, move this unit to the ground arena, and give each friendly heroism unit +2/+2 for the phase. So really, really interesting ability here. Very thematic as well for those that have seen The Last Jedi, being able to drag herself into the ground arena, back into the safety of a Resistance capital ship. Having to use the Force token for it, so we're going to have to find some ways to generate the Force quite easily or hold on to it until we get to this point. But if and when we do, she gives essentially Fleet Lieutenant stats to everything. Yes, you can't attack with that unit straight away like you can with Fleet Lieutenant, but it gives that +2/+2 for the phase. So if you can first action, play Leia in the space arena, second action, use the Force ability, move it to the ground arena, banner everything for +2/+2, and then start hammering home for some big, big damage, this could be actually a really interesting closer in potentially something like Sabine Green or something like that, something quite aggressive. Obviously, if you're playing this in a deck like Han 2 as well, you can get this layer out a little bit earlier, although I maybe prefer to use that ability for something like Blue Leader, the space unit that you then can pay the extra, put it into the ground arena, can ambush in immediately with those experience tokens as well. But I think this is a really, really cool card. And she's a 5/5 as well. 5/5 for 5 resources is never a bad thing. And to have this really cool versatile ability is really, really cool. You're not going to be attacking with her in the space arena, unfortunately, because she just simply cannot ready. It's not a case of she comes into play, she can't ready until like the start of the second action phase that she'd be in play. She just can't ready at all. So she has to come into the ground arena. But it's a really, really nice piece, and something that potentially you could have the opportunity to just allow sit there, bide your time, protect her with a Space Sentinel or something of some sort, Concord Dawn Interceptors potentially, and then when the time is right, move her into the ground and try and push for the game. Another Command Heroism unit that we've got is Yoda into the game. An 8-cost 5/9. When played, you may use the Force. If you do, heal 5 from a base. That's really, really nice. And then when you use the Force, you may deal damage to a unit equal to twice the number of units that you control. This is a really, really good card. I really like this because as soon as this comes into play, you're getting both of the effects potentially here. You are, when played, using the Force, so you're restoring 5. That is a lot of damage to be able to be restored. I don't think that there is a card or a unit in the game right now that has that high of a restore value naturally, at the very least. Redemption is a sort of quasi-restore, very similar to this Yoda ability here, obviously removing damage from the base and putting it on the redemption itself. But just straight up healing 5 with no other repercussions apart from using the Force token is really, really great. And then as soon as you use that ability, as soon as that when played ability resolves, you can burn a unit equal to twice the amount of units you control. And when you're at that 8 resource turn, it's likely you're going to have at least 3 units on the board, at the very least, on the ground arena. And this looks for both arenas as well. It doesn't necessarily just check for one arena, it checks across both. So if you've got 3 units in ground and 2 units in 5, Yoda comes into play making the 4th. That is a lot of damage that you are doing into a unit. You are potentially what? That would be, so 3, 2, that's 5, 6, ability, 12 damage you're burning. You could destroy a Supremacy, or you could destroy an Annihilator, or something really, really huge with this Yoda ability. And then, of course, it's just a 5/9 as well at base stats. So when if it survives into your next action phase, you can just start chipping away for 5 damage per phase, and it's got a hefty amount of HP as well to be able to live some attacks. So really, really cool card. I'm a big, big fan of Master Yoda, and there's not too many legendaries so far that have completely missed the mark. Mythosaur, maybe a little bit, probably one of the weakest ones that we've seen so far, but so far, so good. Really, really well done from FFG. Next up is a really interesting one. This is Oppo Rancisis, a 3-cost double command ground unit. This unit gains ambush while another friendly unit has the keyword. And the same is true for Grit, Hidden, Overwhelm, Saboteur, Sentinel, and Shielded. It also can get Raid and Restore if you have those keyword units on your board. It gets Raid 2 if you have another friendly Raid unit on board, and Restore 2 if you have another friendly Restore unit on board. So immediately, this is screaming out to me. Sundari Peacekeeper stocks just went up silly, silly high. Like, being able to have 2 units on the board with Raid and Restore is really, really cool. But then this is feeding into this kind of keyword matters kind of deck that we had just slightly teased to us earlier on in the game. So we've got Ahsoka Tano as a potential sort of give something Sentinel. You've got a Sentinel on board, play out this 3-drop. But Morgan Elspeth here. Morgan Elspeth says you can choose a friendly unit to attack this phase and play a unit from your hand that shares a keyword with the chosen unit. Well, potentially, everything can share that chosen keyword for Oppo Rancisis. So if we're playing Mono Command Elspeth, this could get a lot of different things out onto the board and be played out for 1 resource less as well. There's also another leader that potentially stands out to me to be able to combine this with, and that is Boba Fett Daimyo. Boba Fett Daimyo says when you play a unit that has 1 or more keywords, which of course Oppo can potentially go ahead and get, exhaust the leader and give a friendly unit +1. And then when you deploy the Boba Fett Daimyo leader, each other friendly unit that has 1 or more keywords gets that +1 attack. So immediately, you start to try and play down across the different arenas some of those units with the keywords, Raid, Restore, Ambush, Sentinel, Hidden as well, it's coming out with a new set. Either wait to you've deployed the Boba Fett Daimyo to play Oppo, or just go ahead and deploy him and give something else a +1 strength and go ahead and attack in. So a little bit of semi-Daimyo support, which has been doing okay in the format right now. It's been getting a little bit of love, but still not quite been able to get the full breakthrough potentially. So Oppo Rancisis, definitely a very interesting card to come into the game, and one I'm very, very excited to see players potentially try and experiment with. Now we're going to go ahead and get into aggression cards. We're going to start off with HK47, a 2-cost 2/4 that's in aggression villainy that says when an enemy unit is defeated, deal 1 damage to its controller's base. So very, very interesting ability here. We're potentially looking for a lot of combat tricks here and a lot of things to be able to deal with opponents' enemy units, daring raids, open fires, things like that to burn 1 damage into the base. Interesting card. It's a very, very interesting card. I'm not sure how much that I like it, and I'm not sure how much that I agree maybe with the legendary rarity classification here, I suppose, because it's technically an unlimited amount of damage that you could do across a phase, as long as your opponent has the necessary units on the board to continue to just ping 1 damage in. But this could have potentially been a rare, I feel like, because your opponent is only going to have a limited amount of units on their side of the board at one time. So it potentially does have the opportunity to be quite oppressive, but it feels quite limited in and of itself with what your opponent is putting against you. So I could be proved wrong, and this card could be very, very incredible. It is a Sith unit as well, so it does combine with Always 2, being a unique Sith unit. But for me, this doesn't feel necessarily like a legendary, right now, at the very least. We then got Grand Inquisitor, 3-cost aggression villainy unit, 3/4. It has the hidden keyword, which, remember, means that you cannot be attacked the phase that that unit is deployed. Has raid 1 as well, so essentially make this a 4/4 for 3 when it attacks. But importantly, other friendly Inquisitor units gain hidden. So there's a couple of different decks that we are potentially looking to go ahead and put this into. First and foremost, of course, the Third Sister. Third Sister is an Inquisitor, so has hidden, but if you go ahead and deploy the Inquisitor, again, it has hidden once again, so you can re-give hidden ability, essentially. And then on attack, you're continuously just granting hidden abilities. But for me, I may be looking at Grand Inquisitor himself, the original Inquisitor that came out in set 1. because, of course, New Inquisitor, the Legendary, is a 3 or less power unit. The raid only kicks in when you attack. So you could be able to use Grand Inquisitor ability, attack in for 4 damage with this brand new Legendary, and then continuously grant things hidden as well. When Inquisitor deploys, you can give it hidden straight away, protecting it a little bit to keep it around for these combo plays of being able to ping one, ready something back up, swing again, fall on lightsaber, and just keep overwhelming the board that way. So I'm definitely interested by the brand new Grand Inquisitor here. It's definitely going to be something that I'll be trying to experiment with and bringing old school GI back into the format. Now we've got a heroism unit in aggression. This is Sindralig. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 8 cost aggression heroism unit, 5/6 on the ground. When played, you may play a lightsaber upgrade from your hand for free on this unit, and if you do, ready him. Now, we've had quite a few interesting lightsabers already in the game so far. Jedi lightsaber, General's blade. So already we've got a few unique and interesting lightsabers that are already in the game. Jedi lightsaber, Luke saber, General's blade, Windu's and Ahsoka's as well. Of course, you're not going to be able to get the abilities of some of these named specific lightsabers, but you're still getting the stat boosts at the very least. So General's blade and Jedi lightsaber are probably the two before Legends of the Force that we're looking for. But look at how many sabers we are getting in Legends of the Force. We're getting 10 new lightsaber cards. And you've got, what, 5 of them that are going to be heroism or mono or no aspect at all. We'll talk about constructed lightsaber in a second. But we've got heirloom, we've got Yoda's saber, Qui-Gon's Night Saber as well. There's some really great cards and more lightsabers that we could potentially utilize here. And for me, I love a good lightsaber upgrade. I was very, very happy and excited when General Grievous got announced in set 3 and to try and make a kind of lightsaber matters Voltron deck on General Grievous, but it didn't quite work out. Perhaps this set is going to be the one to do that. But Sindralig, I really like the idea of. Obviously, you're losing the card from your hand, but you're getting an upgrade on for free. You're readying the unit as well to potentially swing in for massive damage. It's a 5/6 already. I really like the look of Sindralig here as well. Then we've got Bendu, who is our final aggression legendary in the set. 8 cost 10/10 in mono aggression. On attack, deal 3 damage to each other unit. But you don't mind that on attack ability because it's huge. And it's mono aggression for 8 cost. Crate Dragon is what, a 9 cost? Yeah, so Crate Dragon is a 9 cost that's a 10/10 with Overwhelm that burns. But here, you've got this out for 1 resource cheaper, and on attack, you're just burning everything else for 3 damage across every arena as well. It's not just limited to the ground arena, and you're swinging in for 10 1 phase earlier than you could do potentially with the Crate Dragon. And that's even before any kind of ramp or resource turboing that you might be doing if you're pairing this with Command. And 10 damage and 10 power for a 30 HP base, the regular starting HP in the base in Star Wars Unlimited, that's a 3-turn clock if you haven't already taken a decent amount of damage. So realistically, by the time that Bendu hits the board, you've probably got 1 full action phase to answer this before you just lose the game. So Bendu could be really, really interesting to build around. Just turbo Bendu. Go really, really aggressively. Might be a finisher for Sabine Datavolt, potentially, as well, perhaps. So, but Bendu I'm really, really excited for. And I've said this a lot. about Legends of the Force so far. I'm just really excited for this set. It looks like it's going to be a really, really great set. And if you are as well, be sure to drop a like on this video and comment down below some of the cards that you will be chasing in Legendary in this set. Next up, it's time to go to Cunning and over to Marchion Ro, a 6-cost Cunning villainy card, 6/7. Each friendly unit's raid is doubled. This is a really good card. I really, really like this, and particularly, there's one deck that I like this the most in, and that's Cad Bane. Because Cad Bane, when he deploys, of course, has raid. So you are then doubling your leader's raid ability. And remember, you can do that, it looks like, because there's no discretion here. There's no friendly non-units raid is doubled. You can also pair this along with something like the Lurking TIE Phantom, which has raid 2 as well. So you're getting raid 4 then in the Space Arena. But this is also an Underworld card. So this is triggering Cad Bane's leader ability either on leader side or on leader unit side. And it's a 6/7 as well. And if you've got a way to give this raid yourself, it's each friendly unit. So you can target Marchion Ro's raid abilities as well. It's not other friendly unit, as opposed to what's written on the card here, each friendly unit. Everything's raid ability just gets doubled up. So you could get really, really aggressive in the mid game and take it to the late game very, very quickly with this card. I really like this for Cad Bane. It was already a pretty strong deck in the format at the moment. It's dropped off a little bit post Django ban, but is still there. This puts it right back into contention once again, in my opinion. A really, really big fan. Another card that I'm a very big fan of is Qui-Gon Jinn, his first unit card in Star Wars Unlimited. We're getting his first leader as well. And if you haven't seen what he does and what any of the heroism leaders do, check the iCard in the corner of the description of the video here, where I'll link the playlist for Star Wars Unlimited, which will have all of the leader breakdowns of villainy and heroism for Legends of the Force. But for Qui-Gon Jinn, he's a 7-cost Cunning Heroism unit, 7/5 ambusher. When defeated, you may choose a non-leader ground unit. Its owner puts it on the top or bottom of the deck. So you could go ahead and go in, ambush in with Qui-Gon, ambush into a target where he's going to be defeated in, and then activate the when defeated ability and just target something that your opponent could potentially go ahead and swing in with in the next action. And when we get to that 7 resource phase, it's likely that's going to be a very, very big unit and a very important unit here. And it's not cost dependent as well. It's not a has to cost 5 or less or has to cost 6 or less. No, it's anything. Anything can just be put away. The slight drawbacks with this card are 1, it's a when defeated ability. So you're only going to get to use it once. And 2, its owner gets the choice. So if you are targeting something on your opponent's board, it has to be them that chooses whether it goes on the top or the bottom. And it's a ground unit as well that you have to target. You can't choose a giant capital ship that your opponent has still got ready and waiting to swing if you're playing against Admiral Piet, for example. But there's still a lot to love about this card. It's 7 power, so that's clearing the way of quite a lot of ground units on your opponent's side of the board in the game right now. It's bottom decking something as opposed to defeating it, so you can work around and get around when defeated abilities if your opponent has something really, really nasty, a Qui-Gon of their own potentially. And it's an ambusher as well, so I think there's a lot to like about Qui-Gon Jinn here. And of course, you don't have to play this for the ambush. You could just keep this on the board, put Qui-Gon's lightsaber on him potentially as well, which we'll talk about in a future video, so stay subscribed for that. There's a lot of different ways that we can use this Qui-Gon. Next, we've got Zuckuss, a double cunning card, 5-cost Force and Bounty Hunter, interesting typings, 4/7 power and HP level. On attack, name a card, then discard the top card of the defending player's deck. If a card with that name is discarded, this unit gets +4 for this attack. This card is disgusting in one deck in particular, and that's Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn from Spark of Rebellion gets you knowledge of the top card of your opponent's deck at the start of every single phase. So if you can put this Zuckuss on the board, and you can get it to stick that one phase, so that you can learn what the card is on top of the deck, your first action could be attack with Zuckuss, mill that card, and swing for 8. Because you know what card is there. You've written it down on a piece of paper because you've just seen it at the start of the action phase. So Zuckuss in that deck is going to be really, really good. The only slight drawback for that, potentially, is that it's going to be in double cunning. So you'll have to play double cunning Thrawn as opposed to maybe pairing Thrawn with Vigilance, what we see most often with Spark of Rebellion Grand Admiral Thrawn. But even so, that's not necessarily the biggest drawback, because at double cunning, you're getting access to things like Cantina Bouncer on curve, Bodhi Rook on curve, Cunning itself, the 4-cost event, on curve as well. You're not having to pay any aspect penalties for them. So I think Zuckuss could cause a lot of trouble in Grand Admiral Thrawn, and that's definitely a deck that I think that I'm going to be experimenting with during Legends of the Force. I think I'll definitely start building a few different decks, maybe displaying them as well for you guys if you'd be interested in seeing that. Drop a comment down below with some leaders that you'd be interested to see built and updated for the Legends of the Force meta. But I think that Zuckuss, in the right build of Thrawn, could be very, very scary indeed. We've now got the final cunning unit in the game, and the final cunning legendary that we're going to talk about in this video, and that is going to be the Legacy Run, a 5-cost mono cunning space unit, 3/3, which, if you remove any ability text, looks very, very understated. But it's the ability text that makes it. When defeated, deal 6 damage divided as you choose among enemy units. So the idea here, I think, is that you use the Legacy Run to crash into something or soften something up, and then just immediately get the when defeated ability and just start spreading that damage around, either to set up for defeats in later actions or later phases, whether to get the Boba Pilot ability triggered as well, because this is non-combat damage that you are dividing up. So potentially Cunning Pilot Boba has just gotten another tool, and it's a transport as well. So it's a really interesting card. I think this card's cool. I think this card's fine. But I need to see it in practice to be able to really decide whether this card is really, really good or not. I looked at it when it first revealed, and I saw this, and I thought, oh, that seems really, really good. But then seeing the 3/3, having to be that you're waiting till 5 resources to play it down, there's other things that you could potentially look to do at 5 resources. So I don't know. I don't know after some consideration about how impactful the Legacy Run is going to be. But it's definitely a very unique card, and definitely a very interesting card with his ability to be able to start spreading some of that damage around and being able to get some really nice value trades in the rest of the phase. Next up, we've got our first Mono Villainy Legendary, and our only Mono Villainy Legendary, of course, because of the Mono Villainy and Mono Heroism leaders that we are getting in the game this set with Malak and Anakin Skywalker. We have to have some cards to support that. So, Unit Darth Malak, 5-cost, Mono Villainy, 4/7, Overwhelm. When played, if you control a Sith leader unit, you may ready this unit. So a very interesting card here. semi-ambush, but not quite. You have to use another action for it. It's got Overwhelm, which is great. 5 resources, so nice and early. But you need to rely on a very early deploy if you want the when played ability and the Darth Malik to be able to hit the board here. It's interesting. 475, of course, generally in Star Wars Unlimited, we've had nightmares with that kind of resource and stat level on leader units. I'm looking at you, Boba 1. But is this good enough to be able to stick and make as much of an impact as Boba 1 did as a leader? I'm not sure. Again, I mean, at the very least, Darth Revan deploys on 5. So I think the idea here that we're going for is to pair this with Revan, which would make sense. Deploy Revan, play Malik, ready Malik with the when played ability because Revan is a Sith. Then swing with the Malik, or maybe upgrade and then swing with the Malik to then get a defeat ability and an activation of the Darth Revan and experience token it up as well. That seems to be sort of what we're going for with this card. But either way, it's really, really cool to see these Legends cards, these non-canon characters, get represented in the game. And of course, it's mono villainy. So it's likely to be played, or likely to be considered at the very least, in a lot of decks because it has that versatility. You are just relying on this heavy Sith package to be able to get the biggest benefit out of it in the game. Next, we've got Grogu to talk about. Grogu has seen a lot of play recently in the format right now, most notably through Oliver Simons' Admiral Akbar deck, a really, really cool deck. If you haven't checked that out, I'll leave a video linked in the description of the breakdown of the UK Games Expo Star Wars Unlimited weekend, as well as Oliver Simons' deck profile and breakdown. But here we've got a legendary Grogu. 3 cost, mono heroism, 1/6 with hidden. Action to rest it, exhaust this, heal up to 2 damage to a unit. If you do, deal that much to a unit. So a really, really cool card here. Really, really great. I'm into this card. I'm really interested in this. Because what you can do is you can heal damage from, say, some Sentinels, potentially, and just use that to burn. Or worst case scenario, your big kind of important units on the board, say your Lukes, your Redemptions, things like that. If you've played Redemption and healed a load of damage from your base and put it onto the Redemption, if you still got Grogu on the board, you can next action heal 2 damage off of that Redemption and ping for 2 onto a unit, because it's not limited to ground or space arena. And of course, it's got hidden as well, so it's got that versatility, it's got that life in the early game as soon as you go ahead and play it down, or on that first action if you play it down. And then if you've got some kind of way to ready the Grogu on that phase, you can just immediately use the action and get some really, really great usage out of it. So I think Grogu is going to be a really, really good card. I think it's going to be included in quite a lot of particularly Vigilance Heroism decks. Like I say, a lot of that Restore, those big and endgame threats of Luke and Redemption, make them last a little bit longer. That's kind of what we're going for here. And of course, this unit is going to last quite a long time as well, at 6 health on its base stat. So really, really like Grogu. I think this is a card that is going to see quite a bit of play. We've got 2 more legendaries to talk about that are coming out in Legends of the Force. And they both are vanilla aspect. They have no aspect on them whatsoever. We had one in the earlier sets with Death Star plans that didn't really quite make an impact. These 2, however, could. First off, we've got the Father that combines with some other cards that are in rare in the set, which will be the next video on Star Wars Unlimited, so be sure to be tuned in and ready for that. So we've got the Father. 8 cost, of course, no aspect. 5/10, when you use the Force, you may deal 1 damage to this unit. If you do, the Force is with you. So I spoke in a couple of other videos earlier on when we were covering the Legends of the Force reveals and card list about my query of how easily and how often are we going to be able to generate the Force to be able to use the Force itself and use these ability tokens. This is one of those ways. It's 8 resources, so it is on the higher end, but it is mono aspect. So we can just easily chuck this into a command deck, ramp up quite quickly, go command and vigilance with heroism, put the father in, ramp up early, drop the father, and start using the Force quite freely. It is also a 5 power unit with 10 HP, so you're getting quite a lot of usage out of this unit with this ability if you are getting a Force Matters deck, essentially. If you're wanting to use the Force over and over and over and over again, the father can help to facilitate that. So, really, really interesting card. Really, really cool way to not infinitely generate the Force, but generate the Force quite frequently in the late game stages. This would be a card that, again, I'm very, very interested to see players try and experiment with. Last thing, however, we have Constructed Lightsaber, a legendary saber. And this is a really interesting card. Very, very versatile. 3 cost upgrade. +2/+3 at its base stats. Attach it to a Force unit. If it's a heroism unit, it gets Restore 2. If it's villainy, it's Raid 2. But if it is a non-villainy, heroism leader or unit, it gains Sentinel. So if we create this with Sindralig, for example, with its when played ability, that Sindralig is now going to restore. If we attach it onto Malak, for example, it's going to be Raid. And if we're playing it in a deck with Cunning and we have Martian Roll on the board, that Raid's going to get doubled as well. And if we're attaching this to something like the Father, it's going to get Sentinel and will become a 7/13 Sentinel without any of those damage pings that we've done to ourselves. I really, really like this card. I love how versatile it is. Like I said earlier in the video, I love lightsaber cards. I just love lightsabers in general. Who doesn't love lightsabers? But what this card really screams out to me, and how I really, really want it to fit, is a unit that I mentioned earlier on, and that's General Grievous. I really, 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 really want a Grievous lightsaber deck to work, and Constructed Lightsaber might potentially be able to help do it, giving Grievous Raid 2 as well. It's just really, really cool. I think this is a really, really fun card. I love the versatility of it. Obviously, we're seeing how important upgrades are at the moment. And you can bring this into play as well with an event card called a Fine Addition as well. Which here, if an enemy unit was defeated this phase, play an upgrade from your hand or from any player's discard pile, ignoring its aspect penalty. And I wonder what leader has been interested in discarding upgrades away. Kylo Ren. You can loot if you discard upgrades away. So, I mentioned about Kylo Ren having potentially a very specific build in the in Star Wars Unlimited. Could we go ahead and see Turbo Grievous Voltron with Fine Edition combo with this Kylo Ren unit and leader? And of course, when it's deployed, you could go ahead and just dump a load of lightsabers on them as well while paying the costs with the when deployed abilities. So, lightsaber is very, very interesting. Constructed Saber is very, very interesting. And I cannot wait to see this card hopefully get used. I'm going to try and make it work at the very least in a villainies deck. But who knows? It's got this versatility. Chuck it in Flip Out, maybe. Get Luke Skywalker, chuck it in Flip Out. Get Vader as well to get that extra restore or raid. Could be very, very interesting indeed. I am very excited to see where we are heading and where it looks like we are heading in Star Wars Unlimited right now. A lot of these legendaries feel like legendaries, and I cannot wait to see how players are going to utilize this in the Galactic Championships next month and beyond. But with all that being said, it's now over to you. What do you think about these legendaries in Legends of the Force? Are there any that you are really excited to try? Any that you think are maybe a little bit underwhelming? Are there any that you think that I have completely misread or missed out on that could be the biggest impact that we have seen in the game so far? Let me know down in the comments section below. And if you have enjoyed this video, of course, be sure to drop a like rating on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications. With all that being said then, that is going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see you soon. Goodbye.